Hello, everyone. It's 12:03, so I guess we should get going today. It looks like we've got about 5 participants, so that's exciting. That was the number I was going for. So thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to talk about just 2 things you can do to make your documents more accessible for your students. If you're a staff member, which I think everyone's faculty so far, but how to make them more accessible online for lots of reasons, and we're going to go into some of those today. So let's just jump in. Let's see. So today the agenda, wait, I'm not in presentation mode. Okay, can everyone see the PowerPoint? I am going to make you guys talk today, so fire up your microphones because we're going to be talking. I'm going to turn off my, what's that? I heard someone. Okay. So, oh, now I have a terrible echo. Let me turn that down. Okay. It doesn't usually do that. Is that bothering everyone? I think I know why. Hold on one second. Okay. If you're not speaking, I'm going to keep you muted. Otherwise, we get that weird feedback thing going on. But here goes. Let's see if we can get the slides to advance. It's been an interesting morning. Okay, here we go. So we're going to do a quick introduction and do a little Zoom overview to make sure everyone's familiar with using this Zoom tool we're using for the webinar. And then we're going to go through 2 things you can do to make your documents more accessible. And we're going to have hands-on time because I'm going to have you try the skills I'm teaching you. I can show you in real time and we can do some work like that so you can really get some experience in it. And then I'm going to show you a couple of tools that exist to help you fix your content that you already have that are built into Canvas and your Microsoft programs. And then you're going to make a plan, and you won't have to share it, but how you're going to move forward in this work. So at the outcomes, we have to have outcomes. So at the end of today, you'll be able to define accessible in higher ed and what we mean by that, why it's important. You're going to be able to demonstrate using styles to format your documents, and you're going to be able to demonstrate adding alternative text to your images. You're going to be able to check accessibility using built-in tools, and then again, you will have created a plan of action. So who's in the room? So I'm going to do a quick little poll because we were talking about Zoom. Well, I guess I didn't do that, did I? So Zoom is the tool we're using today. It's a web tool that's great. It's great for online office hours. It's great for webinars. It's great for one-on-one with a student if they have questions. So kind of a plug for student engagement. It's free for faculty here on campus. You can do a 40-minute session without even creating a Zoom account, or I guess you have to create a Zoom account, but you don't have to have the Zoom Pro. But if you're going to do things like webinars, longer lectures, that kind of thing, you can just write to Randy Godfried in our instructional media department, and he can give you a pro license, and that opens up all the features of Zoom, including the ability to do polls. So I've never done these before, so bear with me. I'm going to launch this poll. It's a very simple poll, and hopefully you will see something that says who's in the room, what is your primary role here at Shoreline. And I see people voting. This is so exciting. Here, I'm going to pull this over so you can, I don't know what you can see, but here's our results. 5 people have voted, and we're all faculty today. So excellent. That helps actually guide the conversation. So we're going to put that poll aside for now. Thank you for playing. And I think I know all of you, so I'm not going to go ahead and introduce myself again. Yep, I know all of you. Okay. Next slide. So what does accessible mean? So in the higher ed context, which is the one we're referring to at the moment, I've taken the definition from the U.S. Department of Education and Justice because this is the group that is bringing lawsuits against institutions of higher ed. So their definition matters to us. So Their definition is a person with a disability must be able to obtain the information as fully, equally, and independently as a person without a disability. And so the word to really focus on, and I wish I was fancy enough to use a highlight tool, but fully, equally, and independently. So that means you have a student who is fully online, who is without apparent disabilities. They take your class at home, at their leisure, in their pajamas at 2 a.m., take your tests with their dog on their lap. They're totally chill. They've eaten, they have water next to them. They're totally comfortable. Then you have a student maybe, and this is maybe an exaggerated example just for the contrast, but a student who might be in a wheelchair or might be blind or have some other significant disability, who, in order to take an online exam, because of the way it's designed, or not designed very well perhaps, in an accessible manner, they need help to take that exam. So they need to do a whole host of steps to make that happen. So they need to make an appointment with Student Accessibility Services to help them take the exam. They need to get dressed. They need to leave the house, find a parking place, get to campus, find a parking place in our wonderfully small amount of parking spaces for students. They need to come during normal business hours. They can't take their test at 2 a.m. because we're not here to help them at that time. So they need to rearrange their schedule to come in and do it in person. And depending on the disability, they may have to have someone actually read the test to them or enter their answers, or some variation based on their disability. So that whole situation isn't equal for sure, and it's not independent at all, and it's really out of balance. And again, that's an extreme example, but really when we're doing things, we want to be mindful of this idea of all students should be able to do it equally and independently as possible. So that's the lens we're using. And so why do you care, right? Well, of course you care because you want your students to succeed. It's important to them, that they are able to access your content, because we all want to teach them and we want them to learn from you in the way that you wanted them to learn. So more officially, beyond those awesome reasons, we have some policies that we're required to comply with. Shoreline created an accessible IT policy, I think it was now summer of 2017, June of 2017 officially. It was approved by the Board of Trustees, and shortly thereafter, or actually I take that back, because of two other policies at the state level, we at Shoreline created our policy. So the State Board of Community and Technical Colleges, the SBCTC, came out with an accessible IT policy. I think it was in 2015, or early 2016. Seems like just yesterday, but I can't believe it's been a couple of years. And right on the heels of the SBCTC policy, the Washington Office of the Chief Information Officer, the OCIO, released Policy 188. And those two policies cover generally the same idea, with different restrictions and details and that kind of thing. But basically, they all come back to this idea that someone with a disability should be able to access an online course or online course content or digital content on our website as fully and equally and independently as someone without a disability. So it still harkens back to that main idea. And so also back in 2015, when this was really starting to percolate up to the consciousness of us in higher ed, Harvard and MIT were sued over the lack of closed captions on some of the videos that they were releasing for their massive open online courses. They were saying they were reaching out to the whole world to educate the masses, and yet they couldn't put captions on their videos. And clearly, they have plenty of funding, so funding should not have been an issue. I think it was just a lack of awareness. And it was actually great that they were sued because it was high profile. It got everyone's attention and talking about the issue. And that's I was kind of happy to see that lawsuit. The second one listed on the slide is the feds say Miami University failed to accommodate disabled students. That's tragedy. So blind students at Miami University were regularly and continuously not given access to course materials so that they could actually complete their degrees. And I'm happy and proud to say that Shoreline does a beautiful job at actually accommodating our officially recognized disabled students. But what our hope now is to go, instead of from accommodating people with disabilities who have to come forward and say, hey, I need help, I have this disability, we kind of want to flip the table and now be more proactive. We want to design digital content that's more accessible to more people at the outset. So we have less accommodations to do, and it's just more accessible. So that's a concept called universal design for learning. And that helps more people, more people than just people with disabilities. And so we'll talk more about that as we move forward. But we're happy to see some high, highly visible lawsuits come through. And there have been many, many more. And there's even been lawsuits in our state, even within our community and technical colleges in the last year. So knock on wood, we've been doing some great work here at Shoreline, and hopefully we won't get a lawsuit, but it's always good to remember that that's the flip side of that coin. There's sort of the social justice side where we want our students to succeed. We want them to have access to our excellent course content and the information we're trying to teach them. And the flip side is also a risk management side where we are actually quite open to some serious lawsuits that would have some serious consequences on how we do things. So I'm happy to say that we're ahead of the curve at the moment, and we're going to just keep on moving forward. So I didn't make a poll for this, but I'm not sure how many of you have heard of screen readers. And so I'm just going to do a quick explanation of what that is. Here's a definition from the American Federation for the Blind, which is an organization that advocates for blind Americans, and also brings a fair number of lawsuits against institutions of higher ed and companies and other organizations that have roadblocks to people with blindness as a disability and low vision. So a screen reader is a software program that allows blind or visually impaired users to read the text that is displayed on the computer screen with a speech synthesizer or braille display. So this, I mean, some people think, wow, if you're blind, you can't use the computer. Well, it's a different way of using the computer, and that's why I kind of want you to think about what a screen reader is. But it basically reads the text on the screen to the low vision or blind user. And so I'm going to do a quick screen reader demo so you can kind of see what that's like, hear what that's like. And if I'm in luck, this is going to play. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so sorry. Okay, I am facilitating this whole thing by myself today, so I was just realizing there was a lot of chat. So can you not hear it? I was afraid of that. Well, that's a bummer. I don't know how to fix that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back a slide, and I am going to give you the URL. If the slide will go backwards. Oh, I'm having just technical interesting today. Okay, here we go. This This is the URL, which I cannot copy because I'm in, hold on. This one, yeah, okay. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put this in the chat window so you can all grab it. And I think just play it on your end if you have a browser open. It's really short. It's a minute, just under 2 minutes. I just want you to get a sense of what the screen reader sounds like so you understand and how it's sort of reading the text on the page. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. So go. Let me see something. So if you're looking for the closed captions on the actual video, if you click in the lower right, there's a little CC button, and there are closed captions available for it, for this video itself. And I have not yet been typing in chat. it's too many things for me to manage just yet, but let me just take a moment. Was everyone able to listen to that on their own computer? And I wish there was a thumbs up. That's my only complaint about Zoom is I guess you can click yes or no. So there's a little, under the participants, here, let me pull this over. Under the participants list, you're able to say, oh, there's 2 yeses. I see that. You can also click no. Oh, there is a thumbs up hiding. So those are there also if you'd like them. I think there's even a raise hand. Anyways, so good. So you're able to listen to it. Let me take a quick moment and go through the chat comments. So regarding closed captions for today's session, right now, live in real time, there are not. I didn't get any disability requests for captions, but I will turn this into a recording that I will share out for faculty, and that will have closed captions before I share it out. So I hope that is adequate. Thank you, Gail, for saying nice things. And I just uploaded, I meant to do this before, I apologize. If you were interested in following along the PowerPoints, I did upload the whole PowerPoint file for what we're working with today. So that is in the chat window. And I'm glad you were able to get to the video. Okay, so I'm all caught up on chat. So now you have a sense of what those sound like. And Maria's going to, okay. No, we're going to continue. Oh, it really doesn't want to leave this page. Okay, so having that idea of that screen reader in mind where it's reading every character on the screen left to right, now we're going to talk about how you can design your documents so that someone using a screen reader can actually navigate the document more easily than listening to every single character. So what are those 2 things that are good today that we're going to work on? The first is adding alt text to images. And it's okay if you don't know what that is because we're going to learn. And also using styles and headings in your document design. The plunging, oh yeah, and then so what types of content is this important to? What types of content can you add alternative text? What types of content can you add those headings and styles? So the good news is Word documents, PowerPoint documents, even Excel to some degree, Canvas pages as well, and all new content. If you're using Google Docs, you can add these elements to those as well. If you're designing web pages, you most certainly can add headings and alternative text. So this is, I'm going to kind of teach program-specific skills, but they are applicable across platforms. So I'm going to now, into the chat, load a syllabus document for you. And it's very inaccessible, which is the point, because we're going to go ahead and make some accessibility improvements to it. So hopefully you can all see that in the chat window. And I'm going to do one more poll while you're downloading that. Cancel. Let's see if I can get to the next poll. There it is. All right, so this poll is, do you know how to apply headings and styles in your documents? I've got 3 people have voted, 50%, 4 people, 5. All right, you guys are speedy. All right, so it looks like almost everybody knows how, so this is going to be easy peasy. Let me end the polling, and let me share the results. I haven't done that before, so you can see the poll results. I don't know where you can see them, but apparently you can see them, so that's exciting. All right, so I'm now going to just review this because you all already know apparently, but we can do some advanced stuff too if this is too basic. So let's go through the main steps. So what are styles? Those are the collection of formatting instructions that really apply this HTML coding in the background for screen reader navigation. And some people are frustrated because they apply styles and sometimes you can't always tell. And that's okay because it does make a visual change for the sighted user, but really we're adding this code in the background for the screen readers to use to help their users navigate. The benefit for everyone, that Universal Design for Learning or UDL principle, is that you apply these, and then that organizes the document, because you have to apply the headings in an organized fashion to make them make sense for that screen reader user. Well, organizing your document makes it better for everybody, because who likes to look at just confusing documents, particularly if it's more than a page long? So the more organized it is, the happier everyone is. So here is what it looks like in Word. From the home menu, you can access these styles, or on that header bar. I'm sure Gail knows the proper term for that bar, but the quick access toolbar or something, there's a styles section, and then there's different heading options: heading 1, heading 2, title, subtitle, and so on. And as I said, by applying these, you end up with a more organized document. You kind of end up with an outline document. So I just took a snippet of my Nutrition 101 syllabus. So Nutrition 101, that's the heading 1, that's the title of my document. And then all of these subcategories: instructor contact info, course overview, required reading, course prerequisites, and so on, are heading level 2, because those are important sections or chunks of information that I've marked using those heading tools. And then down here, you'll see assessment is at the same level as all of these header 2s, but then I have a subsection. So this one's actually header 3. And so if this is making sense, header 1 is Nutrition 101, and then kind of an indent. These are all subcategories of that main header 1. So these are all header 2s, including assessment as a header 2. But within assessment, we have a header 3 because there's some more subtopics within it. So it's just kind of organizing your document and then applying the appropriate labels. And so as a screen reader user, they are able to, instead of having to listen to every piece of information, they can pull up a menu that says Nutrition 101, heading level 1, heading level 2, and it'll give them that list. And if they're looking for like netiquette expectations, which are way down here, they don't have to listen to 3 pages of text until we get to netiquette. They can actually skip and go, nope, 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 nope. Ah, netiquette, that's what I want to listen to. Okay, so Lauren asked, where do you see this in Word and this outline? This is now I'm forgetting, hold on, and I'll open up Word in a minute and I will show you, Lauren. Yes, I will do that for you because I can't remember what it's called. And so I already think I said this stuff. So document title is heading 1. And there is a title option, like I showed you in that previous screen. We never use title anymore. It's sort of outdated. I don't know all the fine details other than screen readers don't use it anymore. So never use title. Heading 1 is your title for your document, and then you never use heading 1 again in that same document because that was your title. And you'll find this a lot, that title is being phased out. It's supposed to be disappearing soon. And then the next level of document is heading 2, and you can have multiple heading 2s, and you never want to skip. So you never want to go from heading 2 to heading 4. You always want to stay in order because someone listening to your document will get confused as to, wait a minute, where do the heading 3s go? So, and then regular content, like let's say you get to your heading 2 and then you have a paragraph or 2 of information about that. That's just considered normal text or paragraph, depending on what program you're in. And that's fine. That's great. So, and one more point. An old friend of mine named Tom Gibbons put it this way: make things accessible first and pretty second. So when you apply that heading, let me go back really quick. And let's say we click on heading 1, and it makes this blue heading in a certain size font, and you don't want it to be blue. I certainly do not, for accessibility reasons, among others. You still want to apply the heading 1 because that's adding that HTML coding in the background. And once it's coded as heading 1, then you can go in and you can change the color, the font size, the font itself, if it's bold. And then that way you can make it pretty the way you want, but you already know it's labeled appropriately as heading 1. And I'll show you in a live demo in a moment, but then you can update this heading 1 here in this toolbar so that all of your future heading 1s although you wouldn't have more than one. Let's say heading 2. All your future heading 2s will all look the same in the way you like it. We'll do that live in a second. So we said that, and you, yep, okay. So now you try it, but I'm going to show you first. So I'm going to open up that inaccessible syllabus. I will pull it over. Okay, 1 minute here. I'm on one page there. Okay, and I'm going to pull this over here. Can you guys all see my my inaccessible syllabus? And Lauren was asking about this navigation pane. It's over here on the left-hand side, and you find it. So if we're normally in the home menu, that's your kind of standard state, you go to View and then Navigation Pane. So if I click it off, it disappears, but Navigation Pane. And that's a nice way to see how your document is organized. And if you look at the sample I provided, everything is the same level. There's no headings added yet. At least I think there shouldn't be headings added yet. Let's look. I tried to give you a blank one. Yeah. And the other quick check is you can click on this and it's telling us it's normal text. And you can click on this and it's acting like it's a header, but it's also normal. So let's go ahead and let's make this inaccessible syllabus for class 101. Let's go ahead and make this the title, but of course we don't use this one. No, no, no. We're going to go ahead and use heading 1. And I'm going to just click on it. And now you see this is blue and ridiculous. And if I click off of it, it goes back to normal. But when I click on it, it's telling me, yep, that is now set as heading 1. But I don't want it to be blue because that blue does not have enough contrast. That's a whole other issue about documents, but we want it to be darker. So really the best contrast is black and white. And because it's my title, I'd like it to be bigger than 16 points. So I'm going to go ahead and make it 18 maybe. And maybe I'll bold it. We try and stay away from italics and underline. Bold is the best way to create emphasis in your document. This is a little off topic, but italics are a little tricky for some people to read. They smush the letters together, so if you have someone who's got dyslexia or dysgraphia, it can be difficult for them to read. So we try and avoid italics, and we also avoid underline, because what does underline tell us these days? And you guys can jump in. Anyone want to say something out loud? You're welcome to. What does underline mean for us in these modern times? Anyone? Okay, I won't put you on the spot. Oh yes, Matt Lothian said hyperlink, exactly. Gail said go to URL, exactly. So we really have gotten away from underlining things because then students are trying to click on it and nothing's happening. So no underline either. So I've bolded it because it's my title. I made it larger. Now I want this heading 1 up here to match my heading 1 down here. So I've got my revised pretty version highlighted. And I go up to this heading 1 box and I right click, and the very top choice is update heading 1 to match selection. So I click that, and now heading 1 is exactly like my heading 1. And so, you know, we're only going to have heading 1 heading 1 in this document, but let's do important info. This is really, should be heading 2. And, you know, you can see it's red. Talk about red too. Not a color that's a good choice. A lot of colorblind people can't see red. So we're going to assign it as a heading 2 by choosing heading 2 over here. And again, it's Microsoft Blue. As accessible as they've made a lot of their programs, why they keep sticking with this Microsoft Blue, I don't know. It's too light. There's not enough contrast, so I'm going to make it black again. And it's size 13. That's kind of small. You know, it's my heading 2. It's my next set of big headings. I might make it 14. So I've upgraded it to 14. For kicks, I'll make it bold again. And now I'm going to update my heading 2 to match selection, just like we did before. And now if I apply heading 2 to my other kind of natural heading 2 places, they're going to match. So like textbook and material seems like a good heading 2 to me. Boom, now it's also black. And let's do it for course outcomes as well. So that's also that same kind of level of my document. Now they're all beautifully the same. But what if I look at my document and I go, you know, I really wish heading 2 was purple. You can go up to heading 2 and you can modify it. And I'm gonna change the color to purple, nice husky purple. And I get a choice down here. This is a complicated, really ugly looking screen, but if you look at the bottom, you can do it only in this document, new documents based on this template. And there's actually even a way you can kind of universally set your heading 1s, heading 2s, heading 3s within Word. I think it's probably computer specific, but at least at your desktop at work, my headings always look like this. And so you're not in the business of constantly updating them. So hit OK, and voila, all my heading 2s are now purple. So what's beautiful about this, and another nice side effect, I guess, of it is once you've added these headings, you can then make a table of contents, and it's going to come out beautifully, and you don't have to do the back and forth of, oh, I added a page. I know some of our nursing faculty have like 75-page syllabi because of all their requirements for their accreditation, and they're constantly having to revise and reformat their table of contents. You don't have to do that anymore. You apply the headings and you insert table of contents, and it works perfectly as you've assigned the headings. So now, if we have a look on our left-hand side, our navigation is now changed because it no longer just has everything at the same height or the same heading level. Spring really needs to be normal. That should be nothing. So that's normal. There we go. So then we've got inaccessible syllabi. Important info is a subtopic. And for some reason, instructor and office hours are listed as a heading. We don't want them as a heading either. So we're going to call that normal. And so they're kind of going to disappear. And now we're going to see if someone was going to navigate our document, here's our title. They could go to important info. They could go to textbook and materials. They could go to course outcomes. And see my document even on the right is jumping around as I choose those. And then, so that's how someone with low or no vision would navigate using their screen reader. So I want you to play around a little bit for a few minutes and just see what you think you should do with grading and maybe this breakdown by assignment type and grade equivalency list. Think about what kind of heading level you might give those and play on your own document. And I'm going to give you a couple minutes just to play around with that, okay? And I'll set a little timer. And by all means, ask questions. You can ask them over the mic or you can ask them in chat, whichever you're more comfortable with. How's that working for everyone? Anyone have any questions pop up? Oh, I see thumbs up. That's good. I don't know if those are old thumbs up or not. I think I can come up there. Okay. All right, I'm going to take your silence as agreement that it's working beautifully and you understand perfectly, and all your documents will be accessible with headings from here on out. Okay, no pressure, seriously. All right, so if there's no questions, we're going to keep moving on. The other quick tip I wanted to share with you today is adding alt text to images. So I'm going to now do an alt text poll, and I wanted to be witty in the choices, and I was not feeling witty this morning. I apologize. So do you know what alternative text is? All right, almost everyone's voted. I'll end the poll in 2 seconds. Okay, maybe 5. All right, so it looks like most of you are familiar with, I'm going to share the results. Most of you are familiar with alternative text, but y'all get to listen to it again. So, and it's simple, but can get complicated, if that makes any sense. So what is alt text? Alt text is a text alternative to non-text content. So a normal screen reader, if you have an image in your class, your website, what have you, your digital document, the screen reader can't translate what that image is. All it can say, it can recognize that it's an image based on its file name. So if it ends in .jpg, .png, the screen reader is smart enough to say, oh, yep, that's an image graphic, but it's going to skip over it. It's just going to say, oh, go ahead. Yes.
Can you take the poll off the screen so we can see your slide?
Absolutely. Is that in the middle of, okay, let me just close it entirely. Sorry, it wasn't on my screen. Thank you. So the screen reader just bumps into it and comes to it and says, image graphic, and then moves on. And so the screen reader user is left going, huh, I wonder what was in that image. Was that a graph of, you know, the most important thing I just learned in my math class? Was that an image of, you know, the most important problem that the teacher wrote out on the whiteboard? You know, what was that? And they're just left feeling like they missed out, because they did. There was some information that everyone else in the class got, and they were denied access to. So that's that idea of that equally, right? It's not equal if they don't know what it is. So
maybe the poll's still showing.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Because I closed it. I wonder, maybe it's hiding. Hold on. Let me see if it's hiding.
I guess we have to close it on our individual screen too.
Maybe that is it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I closed it entirely. Did that work if you closed it?
Yeah, we have to go in and close it on ours too.
Oh, sorry about that. Good to know. Thank you. See, we learn something new every day. Okay, let me minimize this. Okay, so let's go to the next screen. So here's an image of Mount Rainier, and how do you add appropriate alt text, right? Because there are many reasons why I might put a picture of Mount Rainier in my class, for example. So you want to consider your audience, and what information are you trying to convey to your audience by adding that image? Why did you add it? What are they supposed to get out of looking at it? And so often I will close my eyes and I will think about, okay, I put it up there. Why did I put it up there? And what do they need? What information do they need to learn from it? And so depending on the context, you know, we could add alt text to this image in several different ways. We could just have it say Mount Rainier. You know, it's just a general picture. Maybe it's on our website and we're saying, you know, we live in a beautiful part of the country, Mount Rainier. Or is it a geology class? And so Mount Rainier, a 14,410-foot glacier-capped volcano in western Washington, maybe that much information should be gained from it as a student. And there is also an option to do null alt text, or designate an image as purely decorative. And to do that, you just put in 2 sets of quotes. I think that you would want to do that sparingly. I think if there's enough impetus for you to put an image into your digital content, there must be a reason for it. So why would you want to exclude someone who couldn't see it? So that one I would say use carefully. And then it can be really challenging. And this is one of my examples of, I don't know what I would write for alt text for this. And Lauren's here, she's a math instructor. I think that's a fractal, which comes from some mathematical equation, right? But I don't know what would be important to convey, but, you know, would you call it an image of swirling blues, yellows, and oranges? I mean, I'm not sure. But so again, it doesn't need to be there. This is so hard to describe. You know, is there a mathematical correlation that you want students to understand? Then you need to come up with a way to describe it. So just had to think about it. So how to do it. So it's pretty straightforward in almost every program. Here's an example in Word. You have an image, and you're going to select it so you get some sort of selection bars around the edges. Then you're going to right-click. And format picture shows up. In Word, it's usually towards the bottom of that right-click menu. And once you get the format picture to open, you're going to see this gray box appear on the right, and you get some choices here. And oddly enough, it's not this image one that you would think it would be, but it's actually this weird crop kind of looking icon. You click on that, this sub-menu opens, and then you choose alt text. It's kind of a lot of steps. Here's alt text. Again, another instance where we never put something in the title because screen readers don't read it or recognize it. We just put our information in the description box. So for this instance, this is in my syllabus again, textbook cover art shows 2 cabbages, and title, The Science of Nutrition, 3rd edition by Janice Thompson. We had to talk about whether describing or adding alt text to your textbook image is necessary. And my argument for describing it is there are now 4 editions of our textbook, and all of them have produce on the front of the cover. And I like my students to buy the older edition because it's very, very cheap in comparison to the newer edition. So for them to know that the edition I want them to buy has cabbages on it is really helpful, because if they were calling someone or if they were going into a bookstore and saying, I need the Science of Nutrition, and the person's like, well, I have this one with asparagus, I have one with oranges, and I think the newest one has kale, rainbow kale, or cabbage. It seems silly, but it's a nice verification that, no, I need the 3rd edition, it's the one with the cabbages. So that's my rationale. Do I have tips on? Oh, yeah. And then here, well, before I move on, so when you're writing alt text, there's a couple best practices to keep in mind. I did put textbook cover art in this description because I felt like that context was important, but the screen reader user already knows it's an image or a graphic, so they're prepared for an image. So as much as it kills me, you don't need to say picture of, painting of, image of. You just get right to the description. I think there's a few rare instances where you could argue that, no, actually, this is a poli-sci class, and this image is like one of those classic New Yorker cartoons. So maybe you would say political cartoon showing, but generally not necessary. And there's a balance between being succinct so that they don't have to listen to a lengthy explanation, but also covering the important information so that they're not missing out. As you can all tell, I have trouble being succinct, so I work on that every day. But here in Canvas, I don't know if you've noticed this in the last, I think probably since summer quarter, Canvas now forces alt text if you upload a new image. So if your image is already in your class, it's not going to do this, but anytime you go to upload a new image, you click on that image tab, you choose your file, here's my JPEG file, this alternative text box pops up, which is super handy. It's a great reminder that, ooh, I need to add alt text to that image. And it does have a quick checkbox for decorative image, but again, use that sparingly. The downside to this alternative text box is it has no filter for what you enter. So they're not going to say, yeah, that alt text is not so good. Or you never want to use the image file name as the alt text. The alt text should never have .jpg on the end or .png. It should really be a description of what that image is. So it's cool that they're reminding you, but just because you put it in there doesn't mean it's well written. So we have some other tools to help with that, but just a little note to self. So now I'm going to have you guys try that if I open up my Word doc. So here's, again, let me zoom in. This is awfully small. Let's go to 200%. Okay, so you click on your image and you get the selection bars. I don't think you can get to it from here. Let's see. Nope, don't do that. Okay, that doesn't work. I was hoping it was a shortcut. Okay, so you select your image, and I'm on a PC right now. You right-click, format pictures way down here on the bottom. Select that. Come over to this right-hand menu, this funky crop, layout, and properties tab. Click on that. Click on alt text, and here we are. Again, no title, and then you can just type in, Science, Science of Nutrition, 3rd edition with cabbages, or something. And then it's one of those ones where there's no save. Once it's in, it's in. Click off. We could click back and double check, format picture, alt text. There it is. So that's pretty straightforward. You can try it on this one. You can try it on images in Canvas if you wanted to. I'll give you a minute. Whoops. Give you a minute or two to give that a try. And let me pull up a Canvas page too. Let's see. Can't spell today. There we go. Let's go to and I'm going to just do a little demo in Canvas. You're welcome to work on your own stuff if you want, but I'm going to go to Pages. I'm going to create a new page just for a demonstration. So plus page, sample, text page, and here is my example. Just get some text on there. I'm going to go to Image tab. I'm going to search Flickr. I wonder if it does it. Let's try that. Let's do puppy, search. Oh, there's some cute puppies. All right, does it force alt text? It does not. So I'll show you how to do this too in a minute. Let's make that smaller, and then let's go down here. And we're going to upload a new image here. Choose a file. Lord knows what I'll find on here. Oh, here's a jack-o'-lantern. It's a little past due for Halloween, but nonetheless, here's my jack-o'-lantern.jpg. I'm going to add alternative text. I can't remember what it is, but we'll call it jack-o'-lantern because I think it's a jack. How about a smiling? I think it's a smiling jack-o'. I think you hyphen it, right? Lantern, upload. And then let's pull my bar down so you can see it. There's a smiling jack-o'-lantern. So that has alt text added. We could always check. You select the image and you go here to embed image. And here is the alt text that I added. We hit cancel. So for these puppies that we downloaded from Flickr, that did not come with alt text. However, Flickr, I will say, is getting better and better about including alt text with the images. So it did populate automatically puppies, which was also the search term we used. So that's handy, but that's not a whole lot of information. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's like 5 puppies, you know, and so again, what's the purpose of the image? Why are we putting it there? But maybe, I don't know, it's a pre-vet class, and we do 5 Labrador, not sure I spelled that right, puppies. It's a little more information. You could even, sometimes it's informative to say on black background. Maybe it's not, but then you update, and now that has alt text. And then we're going to save our page. And then they're good. And we're going to talk next about Ally and what these gauges mean and how they can help. So let me get back to the PowerPoint. Did anyone have any challenges, questions about alternative text? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no, not right now. So what else can we do? So, you know, it's excellent. I mean, my hope and goal is that everyone takes the information they've learned today about alternative text and headings and styles, and that every time you create new content, you start using those tools. And it, you know, maybe a little cumbersome at first, but now I never create a document where I haven't just automatically, oop, there's the title, heading 1, boom, okay, here, heading 2, and it just becomes part of your routine. And it just takes a little bit of practice to get there. It's quite straightforward. And adding alt text is getting easier and easier, especially when things like Canvas are prompting you. So some built-in tools. You're working with Microsoft Documents. Microsoft has done a really good job at building accessibility into their products, particularly for PC products, but I will say happily, as of 2016, finally, there's an accessibility checker in the Mac version of Microsoft Word and PowerPoint, etc. So if you were to go into that document that we're working on in Word, and you click the, I think it's the, so here's the home page. If we clicked, let me close navigation too. If you go to File, the File menu, check for issues, and then scroll down to the second option, which is Check Accessibility. It's actually going to do an accessibility check right away for you, right inside Word. And it's great. And so it tells me I'm missing alt text on a table, because we didn't cover tables today, and no header row on a table. I agree. And then there's some unclear hypertext, also something we didn't cover today. But it seems like I did an okay job on my headings, an okay job on my alt text, because if I went like this, and I went to Format Picture, and I take away my alt text, and I close it up again, oh, now it's telling me, hey, you're missing alt text on this picture. And you can actually click on it, and it's going to highlight the actual picture where it's missing. So it's really user-friendly. There's information and tips down below. Some are more helpful than others, but gives you some steps on how to fix stuff. So that's really handy. I used it when I made this PowerPoint today. If I pull up, I have my original version, or my, oh, that's not the right one. Philly, where is it? Hold on, USB drive, there it is. Hold on one moment. There it is. And this is my original version, and I had built it off another one that was older. And so if I go to in PowerPoint now, check for issues, check accessibility, and it's showing you all these missing alt text from the slides, unclear hypertext, some tips, and some slide reading order, and some other PowerPoint specific things that you need to check for, but they're all right there. If I click on Shape 131, it shows us right where it is, and then you can fix it right away. So super helpful tools. I am thankful that Word Microsoft programs do have those. The other great thing available for you is Ally in Canvas, and this is a tool that our Accessible IT Work Group, we submitted an abbreviated strategic action plan, so an ASAP request 2 years ago, and we got funding to help make our digital content here on campus more accessible. And one of the things we did with that funding was participate in a group buy of Ally with the state board. They negotiated a really great price for us, and so we have it for 3 years at a super price. And we've been helping Ally develop it, so I think that's the other reason we've had a super price. Fortunately or unfortunately, Blackboard bought Ally shortly after we purchased our access, and so far so good. Blackboard now does get the improvements before Canvas, but they're still actively working on the Canvas version of Ally. So I remain hopeful that will continue. So what in the world is Ally? So you as faculty probably recognize it as those little gauges in Canvas, like this one down here. This little gauge down here, which is its faculty view. It tells you an accessibility score, which is perfect because we added alt text to that image, and it was good quality alt text. But Ally also, besides flagging content, and right now it's only flagging uploaded content for faculty view, so that's files, images, PowerPoints, anything you've uploaded into Canvas, it can flag for you. Along with that flagging is feedback on how accessible it is. So like that last image was 100% accessible. And then if it isn't, there's instructions on how to fix it. And so I'm going to show you that in a second. But the nice part of Ally that I think I need to do a better job publicizing is that it actually offers students quick access to alternate versions. So if you've ever had a student in your class who has perhaps needed a, well, if it was a blind student who needed a digital Braille version of something, or a student maybe with dysgraphia who just needed extra large type, or students with different needs, maybe they needed your content in a different format so that their screen reader or their program could read it to them. They can access that real time in Canvas anytime. And so it's not perfect, but it's a way for them to get assistance and not have to wait. So it's sort of that idea of independent access and timely, and I'm not sure if timely was exactly one of the words that we used, but often, let's say you have a blind student come to your class, and it's, it can take a good long time to get a complete textbook changed into Braille. Not very many or not all blind students read Braille these days. Mostly they're using screen readers. So perhaps you have, an e-text for your class, but it's all PDFs, and the PDFs aren't particularly accessible. The student would have to make a request for the Student Accessibility Service Office to please get them an accessible version of this e-textbook. It can take a week or longer for the publisher to get back to the student for accessibility services, who then get back to the student, and meanwhile a week has gone by. All the other students have moved ahead in the course, and this student is still stuck behind. So it comes back to that independence and equal access. So what Ally does is it enables students to get that in a more real-time way. So I didn't plan this, so let me find a file. Let's see if, here. So here's a revised Bloom's, and here's the accessibility score, medium, click to improve. So if I click this, actually that's not what I wanted to show you. First, I want to show you the student side. So we try and open this Bloom's, and up here we get the choice of alternative formats. So the students will see this. So click this open. And for this particular document, they could download an HTML version, an EPUB version, electronic Braille version, or an audio version. And the EPUB and the HTML, some of those work better with different screen readers, and students will know which works better for them. But the really cool thing is, like the audio version, this can help for all kinds of students. Let's say you have a chapter of a textbook, or maybe you put up the first chapter at the beginning of the quarter because you want students to have access from the first day, or maybe it's a really good article. Any student can choose an audio version of the document and click download, and depending on the length of document, it can take up to a couple minutes, but it downloads an audio version of the document so they can listen to it. So whether they're riding the bus, whether they're holding their kid's hand who won't sleep unless they're in there, they can have headphones in and they can listen to the document rather than trying to read it. If they're cleaning the bathroom, they can listen to the reading. So there's other reasons that this is handy besides just students with disabilities. And this is kind of an ugly document for it to try and turn into an audio, so that might be interesting, but we'll see. We've got time for a minute or two. See if it finishes. And instead of, if you were able to listen to that screen reader demo earlier on YouTube with that really robotic voice, this voice is actually quite lovely. It sounds like just a regular woman speaking. And we'll give it one more minute. Let's see what else. Where are we? Oh, there we go. And I want to show you also what it does for you as faculty members. But let's see if it's done. It's still not done. We'll let that keep cranking away. Well, I have to cancel it because I want to show you something else, but you get the idea. Pretty close this. So now, from the faculty standpoint, so students never, ever, ever see these these, I call them gauges. They're never visible. They're only visible to faculty. But you see one of these in your class, and you can click on it. And then what's nice about Ally is it gives you your actual score, and then it tells you what's wrong or what needs to be improved to make it more accessible. And so what it shows is the most important pressing issue, the highest violation issue. So this PDF contains images that are missing a description. That's that alt text that we were talking about. What's nice also, and it's a fairly new addition, is they now have this all issues button. Because to fix a PDF, that's a whole nother webinar in itself, you have to download it out of the class, you have to make the improvements and then re-upload it. And so you don't want to do that and then come back and then it's going to say 52%. Now you need to fix something else. So now you can see the whole list. So you download your PDF. Okay, we need to add image descriptions, alt text. Hey, great. This is going to increase the score up to 62%. And then the next issue, or you could fix it if you, this PDF contains text with insufficient contrast. So then you can also increase your score quite a significant amount by fixing contrast. So Ally also gives you information. So PDF contains images that are missing description. Click on Fix. And it's going to explain what this note means. And it's, what is an image description? And why use them? And then if we go here, how to add them, and then it tells you how to add descriptions to images in PDFs. And PDFs are tricky. They're the beast of the accessibility. Well, aside from math and science notation, they're the biggest beast in accessibility. And so you need to be able to edit your PDF. So you need Adobe Pro. But I'm here to tell you that we have an enterprise license here on campus, so you can actually just submit a ticket to TSS and say, hey, I would like to have Adobe Acrobat Pro on my computer at work, and they will install it for you for free. So that's super helpful. So make sure you do that if you have time. So you make your improvements, you re-upload the document right here, and then it's going to rescore. And files, right now this is the files view. This is a really easy way to see what is and isn't accessible. And so what you cannot yet see, but should be coming very soon, I know they're almost done, is Ally can also assess how your Canvas pages are created and how accessible they are. But right now that's not viewable for faculty. If you're really curious, we can put in a ticket and Patricia can run a report for you about your class and you can actually see every single thing. But I don't have access to that. But soon, they're working on the faculty feedback. They want it to be faculty friendly. They want it to have, if this e-learning resources for faculty page, if they said, hey, you forgot the headings, they want to have that really helpful, clear feedback. And so that's what they've been building in the background. So that's what Ally can do for you. And then there is, let's see, here we are. There is an accessibility checker in Canvas. It's quite new. I pretty much say it's not ready for prime time. If it tells you you have no issues, don't believe it. It's still really basic. But it does a beautiful job at helping you label tables. And we didn't really get into labeling tables today, but it does a great job at it, and so it saves you a lot of pain and time. So if anyone's interested in that, I can talk to them later about that. But if we go, let's just downsize this again, and let's go back into Canvas here. If we go to Edit, and this little person in the bubble, I call him the Da Vinci Man, this is how you check accessibility on a page. You can check it, and oh good, so it found one issue about adjacent links with the same URL should be a single link, and I'm not familiar with this page, so I don't want to actually go ahead and fix it. But it tells you how many issues you have, and you can usually fix it right away. You can fix alternative text, you can fix apparently links, you can fix tables right here in this box. And so it's good. I mean, it's a good first step, but needs some more work. But that's another option. And then just a few other pointers for document creation that I want you to keep in mind, or about documents in general. Publisher content, that totally needs to be accessible too. And unfortunately, the publishers aren't liable if it's not accessible. We are as an institution and as instructors. So when you're choosing publisher content, please, please, please ask those publishers, hey, is it accessible? And don't let them get away with it, oh yeah, sure it is, because they may not even know what you mean by accessible. I think, we've been hammering away at publishers now for 2 years or so. I think they're starting to get it. I think that more and more the videos are captioned at a minimum. That is the minimum thing that should be done. Please, please don't publish or purchase or make your students purchase publisher content that has videos that aren't captioned, because that's just basic. It's easy for them to do. And what happens is, if it comes to my office, yes, we have funding to caption content, but, a publisher sells this textbook to, let's just say, 200 institutions or 200 faculty. And then each one of those institutions has to go back and caption their videos. That's 200 times the expense, where if the publisher had just done it the first time, everyone would have benefited. So I am definitely, and I'm happy. I love nothing more than writing notes to publishers, explaining very tersely that they need to caption their content. They need to add alt text to their images. They need to make this accessible. That is their job. They're charging our students a lot of money. It seems like more and more every year to access this content. It had better be accessible, because my tiny self and my tiny office don't have the bandwidth to improve it, and we really shouldn't have to. So there is this flyer, which I'm pretty sure is not going to link. Maybe it is. Oh, maybe. Let's see if it'll open. I have a link to this and some resources at the end, but there's a really great flyer my friend Jess Thompson made at the state board. And this is probably the wrong way to go about it. Hold on. Oh, no, I've gummed up the works. Well, maybe that might be it. And it just has a nice list of questions for your publishers about, hey, are your things captioned? Oh, geez. Yep, I have now frozen my PowerPoint presentation. Let's see if I can. We might have to use the inaccessible version. Oh, yeah. I have to close PowerPoint now. I can't even. Phooey. So, yeah, let me close all windows. All right. That didn't work. PowerPoint. Close. Oh, phooey. Anyways, I can get that document to you. Wow, I really did it. This is the day I've been having, I swear. All right, well, short of setting down my computer, I don't think I can show you this. Let me see if I can open a new version. Oh, good times. Let me see. Well, while I try and figure this out, does anyone have any questions? Anything that's come up? Oh, I did see that Kimberly asked, did I mention what to do if the picture is for decoration? And yeah, so that's that idea of that null alt text. And I just feel like it's important to be really careful about that, and to not do that. I mean, kind of, why would you put something up there that it would be okay if one student didn't see? So either it's extraneous and maybe it shouldn't be there for any students, or are we actually denying them access? And I definitely used to be more flexible about that, but having spoken to other people who have a different opinion, people, experts in accessibility, like, why would it be there if you didn't want them to see it? And I'm like, okay, that's a decent point, I get it. So that's something to think about. And Lisa said, or LJ said, please believe me, some publishers still do not get it. And that's absolutely true. And I mean, why would they when they don't have to? So I think it's really important that, it's today's election day, we need to have our voice heard. And we can only do that by, wow, I have really broken my PowerPoint. Sorry. How can we have our voice heard? Well, we have to write letters and emails and make it really clear. And you as faculty have such incredible power because, hey, I'm not buying your product for my students until it's accessible. And that's, money talks, of course. And so it's really important to share that message with your publishers, because if they're not feeling it in the wallet, they're not going to care, unfortunately, even though it's wrong. All right, so I am just really quickly pulling up this PowerPoint on my other little computer because I can't even get that one. I think I have to shut down my computer, and that would be a problem. I think the last thing we really wanted to do today, let me just look at these slides. Oh, well, okay, so I can't leave today without doing my pitch for captioning all your audio and video content. Again, published material, of course, but also anything you create. If you're in the habit of making panoptos for your students, which is awesome, there are auto captions inside Panopto. So if it's something short, under 2 minutes, you can actually enable those they're called ASR, automatic speech recognition captions, in the edit part of Panopto, and you can edit them right there. And that is really great for students, and then they have those captions, and that's pretty quick for you to do as a faculty. As soon as it's over 2 minutes, it does become a bit of an onerous time sink. And so the good news is I have a couple folks here, hourly folks here in the office now that are funded by those ASAP funds who are either going in and editing those captions for you in Panopto, or we'd send them out, and the state board has negotiated a really great rate per minute of video that we can now send out and have them captioned by a professional organization. And so that's awesome. And so please, by all means, if you have video content or audio content, reach out. I now have an accessible IT email address, and I'm trying to funnel all those accessible IT requests through because they're getting lost in my email. So that address is accessiblet@shoreline.edu, and I'm going to try something different. I don't usually play with the whiteboard, but I'm going to see. Can you see the whiteboard? Oh, like this is going to be unbearable for you to read my my writing. Let's see. Accessible. Well, this is too embarrassing. Okay, never mind. I was going to write accessible IT at shoreline.edu, but you can hear me, and that's embarrassingly messy. Oh, and then if you use YouTube videos. So I have YouTube videos in my class. A lot of people are using them these days. It's great. It's using OER basically. And so that's not working. Anytime, oh, there we go. Text tool. Let's see if I can, nope. So if you use YouTube videos, my first request is while you're looking for new YouTube videos, if you're trying to decide between one or two, choose the one that has captions, save us the money. But we also do have funds and the ability now to make caption versions of other people's YouTube videos, which is pretty cool. The danger, of course, is that we spend the money to caption them and then the YouTuber takes down the video. And that happens, not that often, but it does happen. And in my altruistic, imaginary world where I have endless free time, I always envision, having paid to create these caption files to then sharing them back to the YouTuber so that they could add them to their version. So then from there forward, the rest of the world can benefit from us spending money on captioning their video. But I don't live in a world where I have endless time. So I haven't quite gotten there yet. But that's definitely, I don't know, in one of my hopes for the future. And then I guess I'd like to close with this idea of setting a goal. So I don't know, I mean, I know most of you kind of have been around some of my webinars before. You're more familiar with accessibility than some other people on campus, but you know, it's overwhelming. I mean, it's still overwhelming to me even if I think about all the content I have in my courses and we have on our web here at Shoreline, and where to start, right? Because if you feel, you know, you get that panic sensation of there's no way I'm going to get this done before winter quarter begins, and that's probably totally true, and no one expects that anyone's courses are going to be fully accessible tomorrow. And quite frankly, there's no such thing as fully accessible, because as soon as you get it to a really good place, something will change, and then you'll add new content, or a rule will change, and you'll have to keep working on it. So it's always a continuous improvement process, but just kind of pick a starting place. And so I did this webinar based on these two things because there's too much to do. So if you could just start by making a small goal of, I don't know, like I will add alt text to one of my classes before the end of the quarter, or maybe it's even smaller because I really want it to be a goal that you're going to be able to meet and feel good about. So maybe it's, I will add headings to my syllabus. That would probably be the best place to start, because you know all of your students at least once, hopefully, will read your syllabus. And so if that could be accessible, not only is that a great learning tool, it'll make a more organized syllabus for your students. And also at the beginning of the quarter is a time when some students with disabilities, you know, they sign up for a class and they check out the syllabus and they realize, wow, this syllabus is not accessible. This is probably what the rest of the class is going to be like. So I don't know if this is a good class for me to take. So you don't want to be scaring students away from your classes. So syllabus is a really great place to start. It's also the thing that you might get a request from Student Accessibility Services to say, hey, can we look at your syllabus? The student I have is interested in looking at it, and they're just not sure they're going to be able to, you know, meet the requirements. So that's a great place to start. And so, oh, look, I was privately, but Matt shared a goal, so that's great. And LJ said, learning that the title in Word doesn't work. That helps a lot. Great. Thank you, LJ. That's wonderful. So again, just something small you can do that's going to make you feel good and successful, because success feels good, right? I know at this point in the quarter you're all getting pretty tired. Midterms have passed. We've got a lot of grading. So yeah, so keep that in mind. Oh, and the other thing, and hopefully you have the slides from the chat, but we have something we're working on called the Accessible Instructional Materials Project, and we call it AIM for short. And basically also using some of those ASAP funding, I have hourly staff who are going through and overhauling full courses. Oh, congratulations, Kim. Thank you for joining us. We will see you. That's a good goal, and we will see you soon. But we have the ability to go through courses and just do a full accessibility overhaul. And so right now we're trying to focus on sort of the 101 level courses that are taught every quarter, so that we get the most impact from that work, because it is pretty time intensive. But if you're interested in that, by all means, reach out to me at that accessibleit@shoreline.edu. We're also able to, like, if you work on your syllabus and you think, hey, I think it's pretty accessible, just send it over and we're happy to take a look. And finally, I have a bunch of resources I kind of been gathering. Let me just get this up here. Let me share this with you. And let's see if it's, there we go, desktop 2, share screen. Okay, hopefully you can now see this page. It is a Google page for academic year 2018-19. And it's got the slide decks, which I need to add today's to this, but a variety of slide decks from some recent presentations. An evaluation, so if you had a minute, if you would take this quick, I think it's 2 or 3 question survey just about today's presentation, that would be great. Some extra helpful information. There's an Ally overview for faculty document. I'm trying to get my page to go up. which has more information if you're interested, how you edit those captions that Panopto makes. Caption Hub is a place where you can submit your own videos for captioning, so Panoptos or YouTube videos. They can get sent out. And if you ever do events in your area, here's some required language that must be on your flyers, offering disability accommodation and who to contact and how to make that happen. I still have the online accessible IT course in Canvas is set up. It's self-paced. If you've done some of that work last year, I'm adding 102 level sections, modules, but they're not quite done yet. But soon, soon, soon. Some other options, some other articles, that kind of thing. So I kind of keep this updated. So keep this accessible. Here's a little bit.ly. Keep that handy, and you can always refer back to it. And I think, oh, the only last thing is as faculty, make sure you record your attendance for this and 10 hours. So hopefully you all know where to go, but I can show you really quickly. Oh, I did not time out. Okay. When Canvas opens, if you go to the faculty orientation classroom, you should all be enrolled in that. And right here on the home page, quick links, 10 hours of faculty training, click on that. And that's going to take you, this is a little zoomed out, to this 10-hour training overview page. And you can get to the frequently asked question page, the calendar. If you haven't checked this out, this is super cool. The calendar of the 10-hour trainings, here's the reporting form, and all this. So make sure you report today. I believe it should be on there. Let's have a look. So it is accessibility, and when you click on accessibility, then more trainings come up, and it's this one, ensuring your digital documents work for all. So this is, oh no, I take it back. It's 2 actions you can take today. Here we go. So make sure you record that today so you don't forget. And let me look at chat really quick. Anyone have any questions? We're ending early, so that's, no, we're not. We're almost over. I lost my chat. Oh wait, there's chat. Let's see. Thanks for attending. We're going to sign off early. If you have questions, you can turn on the microphone, we can chat, or send me a message at accessiblet@shoreline.edu anytime. And thanks so much.